did you ever have any inkling that Bruce was struggling with his sexuality?
One time, you had a facelift at 38. You were one of the hottest men. I was there when the whole Kim sex tape came out. And I remember who Chris got on the phone with and the conversation she had. And I was comforting Kim and I was like, it's going to be okay. At the time, I'm like, I don't know how the she's going to be okay. Like, I didn't know.
Did you have symptoms? What was happening in your life that you finally found out you had cancer?
I only had like 3 pictures ever of me topless. So when I was saying goodbye to my I put them on Twitter. I went through a bunch of bullshit. Like, I lost everything. I owed the IRS 750 grand, which I didn't know that I owed. And it was actually 1.2 million that I owed.
You don't care about getting married. You've been celibate 10 years. Are you still
10 years?
Still celibate. Don't care about even pleasuring yourself. Like, that whole thing is shut off.
She's so funny. He's got this tiny table. She's holding her dog and there's a dead plant with a green plastic watering can, and she's pretending to water his plant. And he walks out and he's like, Heather Locklear.
I feel like you know all of the people that were in my intro. It was Dr. Drew, Melissa Rivers.
One of them I had a beef with, though, Kelly Dodd. I thought we were friendly. I mean, I'm friends with everybody, but what happened was, if you do ever talk to Kelly Dodd, please tell her, I'm sorry for being sensitive.
After we're done, I'm putting you guys on a group text, and I'm going to hope that you guys get along. On today's episode of Misunderstood with Rachel Uchitel, I'm joined by someone who is as famous as they come, the one and only Jillian Barberie. If you've watched TV in the last few decades, you absolutely know her. She's had one of the longest and most recognizable careers in television, from co-hosting Good Day LA for over a decade to covering the NFL on Fox and making countless other appearances. Along the way, she's met and interviewed just about everyone in Hollywood. But Jillian's story isn't just about fame and success. It's also about resilience. She's been incredibly open about the setbacks she's faced, from being let go from a very public and prominent job to going through a painful divorce, losing nearly everything, then being hit with a life-changing breast cancer diagnosis. Through it all, she has remained fearless, funny, and completely unapologetic. In this conversation, we talk about everything: her career highs, her struggles, the lows, the celebrities she's crossed paths with, and the ones that remain close to her even today, and what she's learned from it all. Jillian does not hold back, and this episode is one you do not want to miss. So please welcome my friend, Jillian Barberie. Jillian, it's so good to have you on Misunderstood. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for being here. We've already had some laughs.
I know. We're already having a great time. We should have been recording that. Wait, I was just thinking as my intro was rolling in, I mean, you know, I've interviewed like 250 people on this show, but I feel like you know all of the people that were even in my intro. It was like Dr. Drew, Melissa Rivers.
Yep. All
these people. And I'm like, oh, she's probably friends with all these people anyway.
Most of them. One of them I had a beef with, though, which is so random for me. It was Kelly Dodd. And so weird because, well, I thought we were friendly. I mean, I'm friends with everybody, but what happened was, and it was probably sensitive on my part, because, you know, when a third party gets involved and they're like, and then she said, and then he said, so after cancer, I went through a bunch of bullshit. Like, I lost everything. I owed the IRS 750 grand, which I didn't know that I owed. And it was actually 1.2 million that I owed. That was fun. Whilst I had cancer, whilst looking after 2 kids with no child support, whilst working at a radio station with Dr. Drew, whom I love.
Me too.
I had gained, well, I kind of, you know, when you go through chemo, you get all that drugs pumped into you. After it was all done, I kind of threw in the towel, not on life, but just like, you know what, fuck it. I don't want to date anymore. I don't give a shit. And so I had gained, I think, at least 100 pounds at that point. And so I'd gone public on a podcast for something. And I mean, I've since lost 60, but I still have about 35 to go to be back where I want to be. But people just, I mean, they were brutal, which I could give a fuck. I don't listen. I mean, I don't really care. You're hot, you're not, you're young. There's always somebody prettier and younger. And I've always had that. I've maintained that. I sort of built my career around being funny and always having live shows and having a 35-year TV career. But she jumped on it. And I was like,
Without knowing you personally?
No, she's met me. I was the ambassador for Too Faced Cosmetics. In fact, I used to go to HSN in Florida once a month, and I lived in Miami before that, in doing television for a news station down there, WSVN. If it bleeds, it leads. But anywho, and I had started my career in the States there. But she kind of, yeah, she was really nice to me at that party, and she was a fan. And anyway, she was just, and I worked with Rick Leventhal in Miami. And his former wife, or I knew Penny Daniels, his first wife, really well because I worked with her. And then I knew Lauren Sivan extremely well because he introduced me to her. She was his fiance, and she was coming to work at Fox in LA. Mm-hmm. And I kind of took her under my wing. And so I'd never met Kelly. And she was fine. She was nice, but I think she jumped on the fat bandwagon, and it just pissed me off because I like women who have women. Like, I get the man thing. They want you to be hot. They want you to be like, I'll still get men now like, oh yeah, you're looking better. You're looking like the old Jillian. Whereas women they don't give a fuck. They're like, They love you unconditionally. And so they do. It's just the way it is. People think that the women are the catty ones. And I'm obviously talking about Kelly in this instance being that, but usually it's the women that have me. And the men are like, oh God, thank God you're back. You have a hot body back, And so I was pissed. I was like, fuck you, Rick, for not having like, you should be saying, and I think I was super sensitive too, because I had gone through so much with cancer. And so I attacked back in a very vicious way. I was like, I've never married. I don't know what you do. I know you drink Chardonnay and throw it in people's faces. And I know that you marry men that have money. I've never done that. And I've had a fucking gainful career in television. I went crazy.
Right.
And it's unfortunate, but it happened. And that's the only person in that clip. Otherwise, I'm like, oh yeah, of course. I don't have beef with people. And so I feel bad.
Well, I can understand you feeling very sensitive about somebody attacking your weight. Listen, Kelly is admittedly, I think, a polarizing figure. She says things, she rubs people the wrong way. I have been, I guess, lucky in the way that I met her through Jeff Lewis randomly on the street in New York. People used to always say that we looked like each other to each other. And then we met in person and we were like, oh my God, and started hanging out. And I've seen them here in Florida. I've seen them in New York, and we talk. But I know that there are so many people that don't understand how I get along with her or them. Right. And I do. And I just do. And, but we don't talk about politics. We don't talk badly about people. Our relationship is much different. So, but I can understand how your feelings would get totally hurt. Listen,
I'm usually a really tough person. So I kind of feel like, who fucking cares, Jillian, get over it. But Jeff Lewis, he did my house here in LA when I had
wow.
Yeah. And he's
for the show or like in real life?
I worked with him twice, I think. Did I? Yeah, he did a show with Jenny Poulos called Interior Therapy, I think.
Okay.
Great. I love Jeff. He's the best.
I mean, when he had that show come out, listen, I remember when I had my daughter 12 years ago, and I guess his show was on the original show, whatever it was, Home Makeover, whatever the thing was on Bravo, right? Was it on Bravo?
Yeah, Bravo. Yep.
Yeah, with Jenny, who I think he no longer speaks to.
You know what? They were having a massive fight when they were on the show together because she had signed for a book deal. And it's funny because the producers will tell you right away, he's going to pick someone and that's going to be it for the week. And then they had this big internal fight because he's like, can you believe she signed a book deal behind my back? And this is bullshit. So they were having their own fight. And you know how they edit those shows. So you're not really sure how to go. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so it's funny to look back at that and see how he was on that show. And then later in life to meet him. I've been on his show a couple times. And again, I think he's great, but I'm also friends with Heather McDonald. And, we know they had a big falling out. And so it is odd because you can definitely see how all of these people rub the wrong way. And sometimes I can, maybe sometimes you can, who knows, but it is what it is.
Heather McDonald too, for almost 30 years. So her best friend growing up, Liz, and Heather have been in my life for 30 years. So, and before that, Kris Jenner. I met Kris when Bruce was Bruce on a skating show. And that was,
oh, wow.
ago. And so it was before their fame and their TV show. And they were wonderful to me. I mean, I got to know Chris held my baby shower for Ruby, who's 18. So that's how I've known them. And
what do you think? What do you think of their fame since you've known them?
I saw it the first day. You know, Kris Jenner is one of those people, I met her. I skated super late into the evening, and Bruce came into my dressing room. I'll never forget this. I was getting my extensions done. And he said to me, because I literally was on the ice and I had to go do Good Day LA the next day. So I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to stay here in the dressing room and then drive to the show. Because what's the point of going all the way back to the Valley when I'm here in Hollywood already? So Bruce came in and he said, yeah, you're really going to like my wife. I want you to meet my wife. And I'm like, okay. So the next time she was there, she was with Kylie and Kendall, who were 7 and 8 at the time. And then Kim, he said, you've got something in common with my stepdaughter. You dated her ex-husband. And I'm like, who's her ex-husband? He's like, Damon. I'm like, oh my God, I dated Kim's ex-husband. So long story short, I'll never forget. I go into the dressing room and there's Kris. She's wearing a Diane von Furstenberg leopard wrap dress and fishnets and Jimmy Choo boots. And I was like, this chick's got style. I like her already. And we just immediately bonded. And she said, you're coming to my house for dinner. How are you single? We are going to find you a man. For the next few years, I was there for every Christmas, Thanksgiving. I lived with them. And the girls would call me the fourth Kardashian. And Kim wasn't famous. And it was so much fun. And it was a great time. And Kendall and Kylie were so sweet. Kendall was so shy. Kylie was they used to do these dances for us when we would have barbecues and we would get buzzed on wine in the backyard, and Faye Resnick would come over and Kathy Hilton. We would drive to Kathy Hilton's at 3 a.m. and do prank calls on like Oksana Bayul, the figure skater. It was just so fucked up. It was so much fun. And
wait, did you ever have any inkling that Bruce was struggling with his sexuality or
one time? One time. Fucking once. We were at dinner at their house. It was like, I think they moved 4 times when I knew them. And I was 38 and we were having dinner, and Bruce, I don't know Caitlin. So Bruce was so honest, and Bruce said to me, yeah, and they were so funny. Like Courtney would go, and Chloe would go, you got your boobs done when you were, and then she would run around with the boob pictures of Courtney, and she'd go, give me those pictures, Chloe. And it was just so much fun. But Bruce said, yeah, I got my face done when I was 38. I go, what? Wait, what? I mean, the most I had done at that point was maybe a little Botox. I don't fucking even remember. And I was like, wait, back the fuck up. You had a facelift at 38. You were one of the fucking hottest men. I don't know if you've seen Brody, but Brody and I have had dinner before, and you just sit across with a group.
Yeah.
And you're just like, how are you so pretty? I'm like, Bruce, you're one of the most beautiful people in the, what? I don't understand. Huh? And I remember going home that night and talking to one of my gay friends. And he's like, oh, it has to be feminization surgery. I go, are you fucking high? Like, why would he? No. I mean, what? He was married to, no, he was with Linda. Then I had lunch with Linda Thompson, maybe a couple of years later. And she said to me, I said, is it true? The rumors coming out about Bruce that he's going to be turning into a woman. Mm-hmm. And she said to me, Bruce is going to become the person he's always wanted to be. And when she said that, I said, okay, that was definitely what he did when he was 38. And now he's going to have his Adam's apple. So I knew, I know the inside shit that the girls had found dresses or that he had tried to try and close. But I certainly had an inkling at 38 that when he said he had a facelift at 38, knowing what a good looking man he was, right. I knew that something was.
But when you said he had a facelift, you were obviously looking at him. So he didn't look like, he still was a very good looking guy until he started obviously becoming a woman.
Definitely looked like he had a facelift. He looked like he had work done when we did the show. So
right.
I don't know how old he was then, maybe 58, 59. I don't know. Maybe the age I am now. But he definitely looked done. But men are different than women when they get work done. They look more done, I think, than women until.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm not surprised. I would watch Chris. I watched I was there when the whole Kim sex tape came out, and I saw how Chris handled it. And I saw how it went from, I had lunch and Kim was beside me bawling her eyes out. We were in Calabasas. I'll never forget it. And I remember who Chris got on the phone with and the conversation she had. And I was comforting Kim and I was like, it's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. And she's like, I'm not. And I'm like, you're going to be okay. At the time, I'm like, I don't know how the fuck she's going to be okay. Like, I didn't know. But then, I saw how Chris handled it. And it took a while, but everything was orchestrated and done. Like people think, she had planned it. And this, no, it was devastating for her until mother figured out the steps to go through handling it. And I never told anybody. And I always said, I'm going to save it for my book because I am writing a book. Uh-huh. It is fucking a marketing genius, a way that she did it. And she didn't set out to say, I'm going to make my daughter famous. But how she handled it. And she was a very connected woman from years ago through OJ, right. That we were having lunch that day and we were talking about how all the girls sided with their dad, Robert Kardashian. They were just teenagers. And their mom was friends with Nicole. And she kept saying, no, he did it. And then, of course, Robert to the very end, when OJ wrote that suicide note in Kimberly's bedroom, he wrote it in Kim's bedroom. He fucking did it. But he wanted to believe so badly. That's how he was actually a really good dude, Robert Kardashian. I met him once. Way before.
And you mean he just wanted to believe that OJ was innocent?
100%. And the girls all took their dad's side. It was such a bone of contention at the time, Chris told me.
Do you think the girls still think that he didn't do it?
I fucking hope not.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah. So wait, do you still hang out with, so he's Caitlyn now. Do you ever run into Caitlyn?
Oh, I have not. I had dinner with Brody. And I know I have not met Caitlyn. What happened was, so Kris Jenner hosted my baby showers and the whole family was amazing to me. I ended up marrying someone who is the father of my children, and without going into too much detail, was someone when I married them. And then the day after, we were at Heather Locklear's the night of my wedding, and the day after just became somebody different. So I rarely saw Chris after that. It was the isolation, the alienation, not to see the friends as much anymore. Heather, I didn't see. It was just, he's like, they just want fame. I remember one episode when I had Ruby, they thought it would be really cute to have Chloe babysit Ruby, right? And it's reality TV. So I'm like, yeah, that'd be so funny. He was like adamant, absolutely fucking not, no.
Because he didn't like associating with famous people, or what was the issue?
Well, I don't know if you know those kinds of personalities, narcissistic personality. Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
They like to separate you they love that famous side of it. But the minute it's like, he loved them when we were dating. And the minute it was like, no, I don't want to be around. I don't want you around them.
Got it.
And Chris didn't know what was going on. So my assistant at the time, Liz, Heather McDonald's best friend growing up, Liz was an amazing assistant. Things were dying down. And for me, I think I had just had Rocco, my son. But anyway, during the time that Liz was with me, of course, I introduced her to Chris, and Liz is efficient. And so I could tell that Chris picked up on that. And so one day Liz came to me and that was it. She's like, she went to work with Chris. And I mean, I can't buy Liz a fucking Birkin bag for Christmas. You know what I mean? There's no competition. But it's a cutthroat world out there. I mean, Liz helped get that lip kit for Kylie off, running. And that was it.
Chris is a different level, and that whole group is a different level of marketing. And I think people really try to dismiss them or take away a lot of stuff, because whether or not it's out of resentment or jealousy or just because they can't fathom how this family went from representing OJ, the dad, and then to, five girls and one boy. By the way, whatever happened to the brother?
So yeah, Rob just stopped. I mean, I think he got very overweight and he was not comfortable with it. And he didn't want to be on camera as much anymore.
Right.
It's a very hard household. Like those girls
sure.
are tough on the boys. Bruce it was hilarious. You would go over there and Bruce would be in the garage playing with his helicopters. And I'd be like, oh, here you are again, Bruce. He's like, yeah, they're all inside. I got relegated out here again. Like, he was really funny. And he was kind of like, he was not pussy whipped, but he was just, oh my God, he was the best. He was a punching bag, but in the funniest of ways, because they are such strong women.
Right.
And for Rob, I mean, I think he just didn't fit the mold of, they all obviously started out a certain way, very real, yeah. And they all look very different now. And they just embrace that opportunity. Some people take a TV opportunity and fucking run. I didn't give a fuck whether I was famous or not. And after Good Day LA ended, I didn't try to keep networking. I never really networked in the first place. I didn't try to keep fostering. The people I introduced Chris to now won't give me her phone number. That's how gross fucking Hollywood is.
Oh, wow.
Like, oh, I want to talk to Chris now because I've been divorced for 10 years. I'd love to talk to Chris and like have dinner with her and tell her what, and they're like, and I'm like, can I get Chris's email? And I'm not kidding you. Like, they won't get back to me, or I'm like, holy fuck balls. And then I'd say, did I do something wrong? Now, I do know I didn't talk to Chris for a long time, simply because I was dealing with so much at home. I was the breadwinner. He didn't work. I was the baby maker. I had to get back into shape. There were days he didn't talk to me for 3 days in a row. I was always on landmines there, eggshells and landmines. So I was trying to put out fires at home, be funny and fabulous on TV. I didn't have time for friends.
Yeah.
There was no way I was going to try to go over. I would say, I'm going to have lunch with Christy. You saw Christy last week. It was so much easier just to stop seeing friends, going out, because then if I even did go out, I would literally get in the car to go be down the street. What time are you coming back? What time do you think you'd be back? What time? Mind you, I had a nanny for this person 7 days a week. I had 2 fucking nannies I paid for. He exhausted me to the point where I haven't dated in 10 years. I lost friendships like Chris. And now the people that I introduced her to are gatekeeping her from me. It is what it is. It's Hollywood and it's gross. And now I don't live in that
world. Yeah.
Heather Locklear is one of my best friends, and she lives in North Ranch. She's way outside of the bullshit. And so when I lost my house, I kept moving. So I moved to Calabasas. Now I'm in Thousand Oaks, where Heather is. The further I get away from that bullshit, the happier, the more peaceful I am. I don't own anymore. Everything I lost, Rachel, when I tell you everything, my IRA's gone. I have nothing, no retirement, anything, but I've never been happier. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care anymore. I know my friends are, Lauren Sanchez is marrying Jeff Bezos. The Kardashians are all billionaires, and people are like, but you help them with, they owe me nothing. Like, I am so happy for they deserve everything they have because they work hard. Being beautiful and being on all the time is a job, and running businesses.
Right. Let's be honest, finding a smartwatch that truly delivers on fitness, health tracking, and style without an insane price tag, that's tough. That's why I'm excited about AMAZFIT Active 2, a smartwatch that outshines the competition with premium features at a price that won't break the bank. Unlike other smartwatches that lock you into expensive ecosystems, AMAZFIT Active 2 gives you free offline maps with turn-by-turn directions, AI-powered coaching, and 160-plus workout modes, including Hydrox race mode and smart strength training, which you won't find on most other wearables. Plus, it lasts up to 10 days on a single charge, while some big-name competitors barely make it through the day. What I love most, it's not just a fitness tracker, it's a personalized health coach analyzing my workouts and recovery so I can train smarter, not harder. I also love waking up in the morning, being able to track everything that happened in my sleep cycle. Right now, you can get 10% off your AMAZFIT Active 2. Just go to www.amazfit.com/understood to grab yours today. That's AMAZFIT.com/understood for 10% off. Grab yours today. If you're looking for a premium hemp-derived THC and CBD products that actually work, you have to check out Hometown Hero. Whether you need to unwind after a long day, get better sleep, or just take the edge off, they've got something for you. Hometown Hero is about quality and transparency. Their products are rigorously third-party tested, ensuring purity and potency every single time. They've got everything from delicious gummies to smooth vapes and more. And listen, I'm not someone who normally takes gummies, but I decided to give Hometown Hero a try. And I've got to tell you, I slept like a baby. I woke up feeling rested and refreshed, and I totally get why people love these. Plus, when you buy from Hometown Hero, you're not just getting top-tier products, you're supporting veterans. A portion of this purchase goes to helping those who served, so you can feel good about where your money is going. If you want to try it for yourself, head to hometownhero.com and use code UNDERSTOOD at checkout for 20% off your order. That's hometownhero.com. Use code UNDERSTOOD for 20% off. Trust me, if it worked for me, it's going to work for you too.
People don't realize, like you said.
That's actually what I wanted to ask you about, because I want to spool back for 1 second to what you were talking about how you had to be one persona, which was, by the way, the most gorgeous, hot girl on camera, and also be funny. Like, because there's a difference. You could just be hot and then kind of whatever, your personality doesn't matter. But your personality was even better separate from you being hot. Do you know what I mean? So it was like a double whammy. And I think that was off-putting. It made you less threatening as a hot girl. Like, you could be friends with girls because you were funny.
I thank you for saying that was funny, because I had the most fun in television on those days. I look at TV now and I'm like, oh my God, like, it's so PC, boring. And
Right.
People, we'd love to have you back on TV. I go, oh God, I would hate to be on TV right now. Like, I'd be fired after I wouldn't even make it to the first commercial break. Because like, how could I survive that?
But then to have to go home to a guy that you thought you loved and you married and you had kids and have to have a different personality must have made you so angry, depressed. I mean, you had to turn it on and off and on, because your life doesn't seem like it was fluid because of that. And that's really, I mean, I feel like I've been there too, so I really understand that. But that is such a terrible place to be in, because you get so resentful and you feel like it takes so much out of you. And then when you go to your job, like you said, it is a job because you're turning on and you're acting. It's no longer because you love life and you're loving your job, you know?
My job became my happy place because I was away from, like, who I was on TV is really me. I'm very glasses half full, and I'm a little crazy, and I'm fun. But that joy was also, when I went home, I was, how do I say this? Dr. Drew once said to me, was there any violence? And I go, no. I go, well, lots of holes in the walls and doors. Yeah. And he goes, well, that's a violent environment. And I was like, and he goes, were you scared? And I was like, well, yeah, I was pregnant and scared a lot of the times, but more so depressed. The anger came later. I was so in love with that person that I've never dated since. I'll never marry again. But like my therapist said, you were in love with the person that he presented. And you tried so hard to keep bringing that person back, because I was confused. I'm like, what did I do? Like, I'd do backflips, but I didn't do anything. You were just trying to you were love bombed. And so you're like, why aren't you that same person? Like, what? I must have done something, because he's not the same, you know? And so I drove myself crazy in many years. I looked at video, and it made me so sad, because I'm like, that poor girl. And Ruby was walking across the bedroom, and there's video of me, and I'm there, but I'm not there. Right. And there's a commercial of a woman who's with a narcissist, and they're at a stoplight, and he's like, you hear him talking, and he's like, babe. And she's like, yeah. And he's like, babe. And she's like, yeah. That's how I was. I was there. You're like a robot. Yeah. Yeah. You just don't want to start anything. You don't have an opinion anymore. You just, I would walk in the door and see the kids like, hi, Ruby. And he'd go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Jillian Barberie television voice. Bring it down. Bring it down. And I was the one paying the bills, and people would say to me, he would get after me for the money I spent on clothes. And they're like, he fucking doesn't, Howard Stern said, he fucking doesn't work.
Right.
I didn't have a voice. I had 3 TV shows on. And one night I came home at 11 o'clock and he was a cigarette smoker. And he asked me to pick up cigarettes. Now, good day, LA. I would start my day at 5 a.m. It's 11 p.m. at night. After the show, I asked somebody, can you give me cigarettes? And they gave me 3 Parliament. I'll never forget this. That was his brand. I was so happy that they just happened to have his brand. I came home, kids are asleep, obviously. I go, here, I got a cigarette. I was like ready to fall on my face. And he goes, what the fuck am I supposed to do with those? And I'm like, what? And nowadays, I would have fucking broken them in his face, thrown them in his face and said, shove them up your fucking ass and get out of my house.
Right.
This is the house. I bought this house, not you. I bought this house.
What do you think was holding him there, though? Was it the resentment almost that you guys had kids together and he couldn't leave? Like, what's his issue? He wanted to control you, obviously.
Beautiful home in Hollywood. I gave him $100,000 Jesse James motorcycle. He didn't have to work. He had a lovely wife who let him do any fucking thing he wanted. 2 beautiful kids. He had nannies for 7 days a week. What do you mean? What held him there? I never asked questions if he went out because I didn't want to start a fire. He had a perfect life.
Oh, Jillian, that makes me so sad for you.
I was a fucking idiot. I was a fucking idiot. And when I finally couldn't take it anymore, I just told him, get out. He said, I'm not leaving. Like, just like that. And he said, I'm not leaving all this.
Oh, wow.
He didn't even say anything about the kids. It was all this. I said, P.S. motherfucker, all this is mine. My voice came from that moment of anger right then, because I was really nice. I said, you have to leave. I'm not going to live like this anymore.
Right.
I saw myself in 20 years, just my whole life wasted. I went from a vital, happy, joyful woman. At 39, I met him, had babies at 40 and 42, no help, no nothing. I think I was just so in love. My body just like, woo, and also the cruelty. Like, I was adopted and I found my birth family and whatnot. And somebody said to me, what's the cruelest thing anyone's ever said to you? I go, oh, it's easy. And I can laugh about it now. He said to me, and we were cruel to each other at the end, because I think my neighbor was like, you told him to leave now? I would have fucking told him when he let you stay at home with 2 babies when you had your life threatened by some psycho stalker. And he went on a motorcycle trip. Like, he just left me. He's a Marine sniper. He let us stay by ourselves. I hired somebody with a gun to keep us safe for the whole weekend he was gone. Like, he didn't give a fuck about me. I forget what I was saying, Rachel.
Okay. You were talking about the most abusive thing that he ever said to you.
I'm so thankful you listened. So he said, oh, you're just a poor orphan whose mommy never wanted her. Like that. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I laughed. I'm like, who fucking says that? Then people said, when you got cancer and you were looking after the kids, because the kids and I lived together for 10 years by ourselves. He got a new wife, life, baby, moved 10 hours away. He saw the kids every second weekend. But when he lived in LA, then he moved away, and they said, did he call you when you had cancer? And I started laughing. I'm like, call me? I didn't even get an email. I got a call from his brother's wife crying like 6 months later. And I said, what's wrong? And she goes, I saw that you have cancer. And I go, oh, did he tell you guys at Christmas? She goes, no, I saw it on Facebook. He didn't even tell the family at Christmas.
Jillian, gosh. Well, all right. I'm glad he is out of your life, but I know besides, but I want to hear, at what point in your life did that marriage happen? You were still at Good Day LA. Did you get let go from LA while you were still married to him?
Yes.
And leaving somewhere where your whole identity must have been wrapped in that job.
Oh my God.
That must have been devastating.
You just reminded me. It brings me back to Jeff Lewis. So I was at that job for 20 years, 20 years, waking people up, like having a family there, loving my life. I was 47 and I'd never looked better because I was just being with him, I was always like conscientious of how I looked. And I had given Bravo an obligation to do a show with Jeff Lewis starting on a Monday, blah, blah, blah date. I don't remember. Mm-hmm. And on a Thursday, I got home from Good Day LA. I got a call from the boss, and he's like, well, things are going in a different direction. So, but we really, we want you to be part of it, of course. Now, everyone else had been fired. I was the only one that they offered a job to. So they're like, we want you to go out and it's anything. It's Jillian's world. Go out in LA, cover restaurants, cover fashion, it's your world. And we'll pay you like $5,000 3 times a week. That's still good money. My ego was so bruised. And I hung up the phone. I said, fuck you. I went on Twitter and said, I'm parting ways with Good Day LA. Little did I know, they already put a press release out naming the two new girls that were going to be sitting with Steve, who, by the way, ended up looking like his granddaughters because Steve's getting older. And of course, it's high. Right. And as this is going on, they knew that I had a baby in diapers. So I was 46 because Rocco was born at he was 3, and I was still training him, potty training him. So I had Rocco at 43. I was 46 when this happened. They knew I had a baby in diapers and a husband who didn't work. So they thought, well, she's going to keep this job. So they already put a press release out saying, and a special guest star, Jillian Barberie. Then they were like, oh, fuck, we've already fucking put this out. So I bawled my eyes out all weekend. Come Monday, Jeff Lewis, Jenny, and Zoila show up, right?
Oh, right, yeah, Zoila. I love her.
So I'm like, I am going to honor this because I'm not that person. Like I did. So I was very fragile, and my ex knew it. He just knew it. And he wasn't kind. He didn't have his arm around me saying, yeah, she worked there 20. He didn't care, but he cared, but he's right. And so Jeff is like, I said, well, a lot happened. I was at this show for 20 years and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to cry. And I just started crying. And Jenny's like, oh my God, like you were such a big part of that show. And Jeff's like, did this just happen? And I said, like, they were more sympathetic to me than he was. But, yeah, isn't that funny?
That is incredible. But so were you crying all weekend because you were sad that they let you go? Were you crying because you didn't know it was going to be next? Like, what do you think that feeling was?
Both. I wasn't relying on him at all because I never had relied on him. Mm-hmm. He never brought home any money. I mean, I gave him a credit card. I even changed my checks to say Jillian Reynolds underneath his up top and mine on the bottom. And people were like, Jimmy Kimmel pulled me aside and he's like, what are you doing? Why are you changing your name? And I'm like, oh, like what do you mean? Like I had to.
Right. So what did you think you were going to do next? Were you nervous about how you were going to have an income?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I ended up getting a radio job.
Right.
But yes, very scared. So then we got divorced and then I got the radio job not long after, and then cancer. And then I lost everything. Cancer, chemo, and losing everything came at the exact same week. I had lost all my hair. And then my manager called me in and he's like, oh, the IRS, $750,000. And then I collapsed. Then I had a nervous breakdown. Couldn't get out of bed.
Okay. So let's back up a second. How did you find out? Did you have symptoms? What was happening in your life that you finally found out you had cancer?
Oh, breast cancer. Oh, yeah. So I worked for the NFL for 10 years, the NFL on Fox. And every year the makeup artist over there, Lisa Ashley, and I, since I was 40, we started we were like, mammograms fucking suck. So we were like, let's have some fun with them. Like, let's do mammograms and mimosas at the Four Seasons in Westlake. And we'll make a whole day of it. And in the beginning, there was like maybe 10 of us. By the 10th year, there were like 40 to 50 women. It was sponsored by Skechers and of course the NFL. And we had goodie bags for everybody and Veuve Clicquot champagne. It was just fabulous. And so I was the bartender every year. And I had skipped a year, and the next year, Lisa's like, you're not skipping this year. Fuck you. I was 52. And she's like, you're coming and you're bartending because nobody makes a French 75 like you. So I'm like, all right, I'm coming. All right, cool. So I go. And I was the first one. 8 a.m. I had because I'm going to bartend all day. And so I have my 8 a.m. and then people start charging for their appointments. And then I got called back down and I went back down and mammogram. And then about an hour and a half later, I got called back down. They said, we're going to give you a sonogram. And I was laughing. I'm like, I'm pregnant. I was like, so out. I was like, what?
And up until now, by the way, no symptoms. There was nothing in your head that made you. Okay. Well, tell me.
I looked in the mirror one day. I was putting a bra on. My breasts are real. I've always had really pretty breasts. And I was offered Playboy 4 years in a row. And I always said no, like a fucking idiot. I should have done it. I was offered a lot of money the first year, last year.
Well, and it's funny. Well, let's sidebar about Playboy for a second. I heard that whole story when you were talking to Army about Playboy, and you feel resentful or you feel guilty that you didn't do it now, right?
I feel sad because I know my tits are in a landfill and they were really pretty. And now when I get fan mail, I only had like 3 pictures ever of me topless. One my ex-husband took in Ibiza. 2 I took on my own. And I don't know what made me do that. And I'm so thankful I did. And so when I was saying goodbye to my tits, I put them on Twitter. And I get fan mail here at the apartment. And whenever I get one of my tits, I write the guy back with a headshot. I'm like, sorry, I had to keep that pictures. And they're also funny. But yeah, I do. I regret it because it would be nice to have something in prosperity, like just to have that. But anyway, so I was putting on my bra and I saw like a weird shadow and I go, well, that's weird. And I looked in the mirror and I go, oh, that's funny. My nipple's inverted. And I was like, fuck it. I'm getting a mammogram. I'm not an alarmist and extremist. I'm the opposite. I'm like way back. So I was like, fuck it. I'm getting a mammogram in a couple of weeks. So when I got called back for the sonogram, this is when I knew. It was so quiet and it was a different person, different tech doing. It was a woman. She didn't speak. And I was in there for 45 minutes. I'm like, okay. So then she goes, you can wait in here and put your clothes back on. So I'm waiting in this room and it's so cold and I put my clothes back on. I'm just about done. And I'm like, am I supposed to sit in here? And the phone rings. I'm like, am I supposed to pick it up? Where's the doctor? And I go, hello? And it's a man. And he goes, hi, this is Dr. So-and-so. You need to go get a biopsy tomorrow. And I was like, oh. I go, who are you? And he goes, I'm Dr. So-and-so. And he said, don't wait until next week. You need it tomorrow. I go, wow. Oh, well, how do I get that? Like, I was so ignorant. Mm-hmm. So I go upstairs and I start making drinks again. And I'm like, this is just so weird. I go, Lisa. And as I'm talking to Lisa Ashley, my fucking phone rings. And I go, and it's my doctor, my regular practitioner. I go, Dr. Whitehaler? He's like, how are you? I go, I'm fine. What's up? And he goes, you sound okay. And I go, I am okay. And I go, why? And he goes, because you have cancer. And I go, wait, I have cancer? And I go, how do you know? I just got a mammogram. He said, because they called me and they said, quote, you have textbook cancer. So that's when I freaked out. I didn't cry, but I said to Lisa, I'm not good here today. I'm leaving. So I left and I was like, okay, I'm scheduling a double mastectomy right now. So I called up the center where I'm very good friends with Sharon Tate, the actress who was murdered by the Manson family. Her sister, Deborah, and I are friends of 25 years. And I helped keep the Manson family behind bars with Deb. Long story. We do petitions, we get them signed because people think, oh, they'll never get out. Fuck you. Fuck you. It's people like you who say that, who let them out. Guess what? Gavin Newsom, fuck you. He just let Leslie Van Houten out. So yes, she would help kill Rosemary LaBianca. Wow. But I had just gone through this with Deb the year before. So Deb had a different kind of breast cancer, but I went to the same Bedford Breast Clinic in Beverly Hills. So I called them and I called Dr. Memzik and I was like, hi, I wanted to schedule, and they know me. And they're like, what? Deb's not scheduled for, a visit. And I'm like, no, it's for me. And I said, I want to schedule a double mastectomy. And they go, well, you need a we don't have a biopsy. I go, oh, no, I know, but I was just told I have textbook cancer. I have a mammogram. I want a double mastectomy. And they said, well, because it's you, because we know you, we're going to book you one. The soonest we have is in 2 weeks. I said, book it. This was October 25th, November 9th. I went in. I am so grateful I booked it because 3 days later, well, the next day I went and got a biopsy.
Sure.
It was already in my lymph nodes. They took out 25 lymph nodes. It was in 6. And that carries everything to your system. So I took both.
That saved your life, it sounds like.
Saved my life. And some people, which their choice, but everyone's like, you took both breasts. It was only in one. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to sit and try to match this. It's going to try. No, take them both. And I didn't even want to get implants. So they put implants in me. I hated it. It hardened after radiation. I got them out. Can't stand it. I had a surgery that took all my fat. So it's all mine. I have no nipples. Don't care. It's my body. Now I'm getting back into shape and I have about 35 more pounds to go and I'm loving it. And I feel so good about where physically. So
finding a therapist should not be complicated or cost a fortune. Whether you're dealing with stress, anxiety, or just need someone to talk to, mental health care should be easy and affordable. That's why I'm excited to share today's sponsor, Rula. Rula connects you with high-quality, vetted, licensed mental health professionals that fit you. And here's the best part. They accept most major insurance plans. Instead of paying hundreds out of pocket, you can pay as little as $15 per session. Getting started is simple. Answer a few questions about your needs, insurance, and preferences, and Rula will match you with the right provider. You can book your first session as soon as the next day, and Rula is with you every step of the way, from scheduling to tracking your progress. With a network of over 10,000 therapists and psychiatrists, Rula makes sure you get the care you deserve, whether it's talk therapy or medication management. Mental health matters, and finding the right support should be easy. Thousands have already trusted Rula to support them on their journey towards improved mental health and overall well-being. Head over to rula.com/understood to get started today. After you sign up, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them our show sent you. Go to rula.com/understood and take the first step towards better mental health today. You deserve quality care from someone who cares. What stage was the cancer? I mean, for people that have never had cancer, all we know is about the stages.
Stage 3.
Stage 3.
And my lymph node stage 2. I think lymph node starts at stage 2. Breast cancer starts at stage 0. So you could have cancer that's stage 0. There's all kinds of different, I didn't even know what kind I had. I told you, I'm not into the details. So I was so tired of people asking me what kind.
But you went through the chemo and the radiation?
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I didn't realize you lose your hair after first chemo. I got my port put in. That was a weird thing because it all happened so quickly and I needed chemo right away. I was on it for 9 months.
Even though you got everything removed and you had the lymph nodes taken out, you still have to do it.
Rogue cells. Yep.
Wow.
And so they said to me, they put it at Cedars. They don't put it in your chest. They put it in the inside of your arm. This port. Okay. And it's fabulous because now it's so small. Nobody even sees it. But the port, they put it in on a Tuesday. So all this happened on a Friday. I got the biopsy results on a Monday. Tuesday, I'm at Cedars getting my port put in for my chemo on Friday. So from a Friday to a Friday, it was insane.
Wow.
So,
I take it you had insurance at this point.
Yes, but
because you said you were starting to lose everything, so I want to make sure.
No, medical was $500,000 of that because of people who did my implants in Canada. When you have all this done, that's where I'm from. My girlfriend had this up in Canada. Hers cost her a total of $4,000 with the implants. I didn't realize when I had gone to this center, the woman who's your surgical oncologist then took me over to the reconstruction surgeon. So you're sort of shuffled all around. I assumed it was all within the same.
Sure.
Because you're so freaked out about it. You're just like half listening to people. My sister flew from Canada to go to my chemo oncologist because they give you a book of your cancer and then you just take notes of everything. It's the craziest fucking time because you're like, as soon as they say, okay, after your first chemo, you lose your hair, like, okay. And then my sister took notes the whole time. But what happened with my manager was, I had him for 20 years, Rachel. And when my career started taking off, okay, I was 34. I had the NFL, I had sitcoms, and I was doing a couple, things here and there movie wise, but nothing, but, someone said to me, you should get a business, or what do you call it? An LLC. You should do this, do that. And it's time to get a business manager. And I was like, I wish I would never have listened to that. I wish I would have just fucking stayed true to what I was doing and paid fucking taxes like everybody else and done it that way. Because this man who I paid $3,500 a month to, and I'm not, like I said, I'm the girl that's out there. I make the money. I'll make the money for the family, the man, the kids. I don't care. I'll tap dance my life away. Just take care of me. Right. Take care of me when I'm home. Be nice. And if you're the man with my bills, invest.
Right.
Help me out.
Do something with it. Yeah.
Don't fucking call me in when I'm 750. I remember crying. First question, am I going to jail? Second question, why didn't you tell me at 10,000? Like, how do I get here? And people are like, do you resent? Yeah, I resent that person. I don't resent my life because I am where I'm supposed to be. I believe that. And I believe in God. So
wait, how did you get out of that? I feel like we have 10 different conversations going on at once, but you have so many good stories and I have so many questions. Wait, how did you get out of that? Because by the way, that happened to me and I owed 750. I owed 450. And then with the fees, it was $700,000.
So my 750 with my fees went to 1.2.
Right.
So I started slowly. I sold all my diamonds. Now I bought myself a shitload of diamonds because I could. I leased all my cars. So it was like, yeah, I had great cars. It didn't matter. My house, I sold. I lost. I say I sold. I finally just said, I don't want this dark cloud over my head.
So tangible things you had to get rid of and start at zero.
I kept 3 Louis Vuitton things that I wore that I brought on Good Day LA, my makeup bag I had every day on there. I kept shoes that I wore on The Tonight Show, Jimmy Kimmel, Howard Stern show, because they were like really nice things. And I saved those for my daughter. And then I sold I had a walk-in shoe closet. I sold everything. Then it came down. I still owed. They wouldn't make a deal with me. I owed $750. I said, I've got $500 cash. I quit Too Faced. I was very good friends with Jared Blandino, who created them, because I helped Jared when he was 22 start Too Faced. I got him into Fred Siegel. That's where we did his first ever. He was 22. I mean, he was working behind the counter at Estee Lauder, who bought him for $1.5 billion. So he always remembered that. And he loves me and gave me a job at HSN. We still talk. Mm-hmm. And it was while I was doing radio. I was doing really well. So I called him up and said, the IRS is going to take my house. So he did this great deal for me. I offered the IRS $500,000 cash on 750. They said no.
I know.
So people say they want to work. When they say they want to work with you, no,
they don't. They don't. And you, by the way, when you owe, like, I think last year I found out I owed $10,000 or something from the year before, which I kind of didn't know about.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, and then I started in the mail to get all these. The way I found out I owed it is because I started getting all those weird emails. Letters and then phone calls about, if you have debt, we can get it down from 10,000 to 1,000. Why don't they offer that when you owe 400 or 700? It doesn't exist. And I called every tax attorney. I called everyone. And again, it was an issue with my tax guy, who I had a place in Las Vegas, but I didn't live there year round. So for a couple of years, he claimed that I lived there every year. And, I did. I lived there for a lot of the time, but I guess it's a certain amount of days and it was a whole issue. And they would not budge on a dollar. So I totally get it. I get how devastating that is, because it's money in your bank or money, tangible things that you have to sell. That is so devastating. And then it takes a while to get over that. But then, listen, I've had a lot. I've lost everything to the place where, like, I didn't even know how I was going to pay for a Subway and freaking out about that kind of thing. And then, to a place where it's like, okay, I can be happy high or low. my heart rate does not go up one way or the other because I could live on a sidewalk and I can live in a 10-bedroom mansion. And I know that I'm good now, but I had to go through that because I was scared of losing everything.
Same. You're exactly like me.
Yeah.
I think it's harder for my kids because they came from the beautiful home to the apartment. So for me, I came from middle class in Canada. My dad was an electrician, and we lived in a 1,000-square-foot house. We had one bathroom for 5 of us. That's the only thing I knew. And then I moved to Montreal, lived in an apartment. Then I moved to Fort Lauderdale. Well, actually, I lived in Hallandale, and I lived there for a year and a half, and I had an apartment. Then I moved to LA, and I started making more money, and then I bought 2 beautiful homes in LA. It's okay to live, like, I'm fine. I don't mind renting because when my kids are grown, I'm going to Paris. I don't want to own again ever. I want to rent. I want to be free. It's changed my perspective being so close to death. When they say death and taxes at your door, it changed my perspective on life and living. And I'm so grateful. I wouldn't change a thing, even with the marriage, because it gave, sorry, my cat. Oh my God, she's such a nightmare. I have a Bengal. Look at this thing.
Oh my God, she's gorgeous.
She's gorgeous, but like, she's a fucking nightmare. They're like having a toddler. Because he gave me those 2 beautiful children. So it's like, how can I be, and the older they get, the more they understand. At first they didn't understand anything. They just knew that it was over and they were babies. They don't know. Rocco has no idea. He's like, I don't even remember you guys living together. Ruby only remembers one thing, and it was a fight. So it's as they get older, they understand the personality differences and they can make their own decisions. But I don't regret anything. It's been a learning experience. People say he's robbed you of joy as far as dating again. No, I'm just too tired to sit on a date and be like, where are you from? How many brothers and sisters? Yeah,
It's the worst. It's totally the worst. And Jillian, I've heard you talk so many times about how, like, you don't care about getting married. You've been celibate 10 years. Are you still
10 years?
You're still celibate. Don't care about even pleasuring yourself. Like, that whole thing is shut off. And I totally get that. And I think that, as someone who's watched you for many years, knows a lot of your stories, and obviously does not know a ton, but I'm a woman and I've been through different situations, but similar emotions. And I feel like while you say, I'm never getting married again, I never care about going on a date again, when that finally finds you, that will change your perspective. But it hasn't found you yet. And I predict for you that at some point, something is going to change and you are going to meet someone who changes your opinion on that. You have been through so much and you have so much to offer. There's no way that inside you really want to go through the rest of your life without a witness, without someone who's even your best friend that's a guy. So I'm predicting for you because I feel like you're very similar to me. And I've said this for so long, like, I'm done. I feel safer with myself than having to depend on someone else. Yeah. I'm like the man and the woman in my life taking care of my daughter, and I cannot count on anyone to get me out of situations or to, I've never been able to lean on anyone and just myself. So I'm like, I'm the best boyfriend anyone could have, right? Yeah. So I feel like for you, it's just going to happen where someone comes into your life as a friend, and then something will just change. But anyways, we'll talk about that in a couple of years when it happens.
I love your attitude. I love that you said witness. No one has ever said that, because that's just a very interesting perspective. And I think that's a beautiful way to look at it.
Yeah. And that's how I've looked at it for a long time. I want someone, how you go through the day and you have like a best friend, like you said, Heather's one of your best friends. Like, you go through the day and you remember all the things that happened in your day because you're like, I can't wait to call Heather and tell her about who I met at Subway sandwich. I don't know, whatever it is. But like the things that happen, you're like, and then I'm going to take a shower, and then I'm going to go here, and this is what I'm going to do. You have those friends who are kind of your witnesses because you get to tell them what you went through. And for me, I really have always wanted that in a partner,
Yes. Well, you're young, you're beautiful. I feel like I don't know that I have that I don't have the hope, because I'm very spiritual. I love God. And maybe when my kids are a little more grown, I don't know, my girlfriend just got engaged to a billionaire and he's much older. And I'm like, I feel like the only guy kind of guy I'd attract is a much older man. And I that's not what I'm attracted to. I'm not attracted to anything, to be honest with you.
Right.
Army Hammer for 3 hours. And if I'm not attracted to Army, well, Heather and I drove home. I'm like, he's really hot, right? And she's like, yeah, he's really beautiful. I'm like, yeah, he's so pretty. I don't understand.
But there's difference between hot and chemistry. Listen, my ex-husband is one of the best looking guys in the world. I couldn't fathom even kissing him halfway through my marriage. I mean, I was married for 2 years, so it doesn't matter. But then there are people who are very, I'd also dated, this is terrible to use as an example, but I dated, just because you and probably other people know, Paul Kemsley, PK, from the Housewives, and not attractive. But when I was with him, found him to be the most attractive, gorgeous man because I was so in love with his personality.
Wow. Yeah.
So do you know what I'm saying? So it's the chemistry, I think. So wait, I want to hear all about Army Hammer. How the hell did you even get on that podcast? Like, what connected you to him?
He reached out to me. He, like a lot of people that I always, when people come up to me or they'll say on my Instagram that they watched me, I'm always like, are you like 40? Are you a gay man? Because usually it's like gay guys or girls, and it was Army's producer who had reached out, and
Jerry, right?
Jerry. Yeah. So you know these?
Yeah, I know who they are. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've always found him interesting. I'm someone from the camp, I think of similar to you, that was like, wait a minute, there's people that have fetishes all over the place. He didn't hurt anyone. And these women, I kind of got pissed off. I was like, well, they wanted their 15 minutes of fame and ruined his life. And okay, he was a terrible husband because he cheated, but and how could you shame someone and cancel someone for having a private fetish within a private relationship or moment with someone and ruin their lives? I thought it was terrible. And by the way, he's never eaten anyone. So if he is a cannibal, good for him. Like, who gives a shit?
It was so stupid. And when I saw the whole series, I was like, what? Where's the story? Like, are we really going there? Yeah. And I felt the exact same way. I don't know how, that's why I'm getting back to cancel culture. And he also was investigated for 2 years and no charges were brought against. And these couple of the women that we're talking about, I was like, first of all, I saw one on a podcast and she's like, yeah, I was into biting. They're grown ass women and obviously they're kinky. I would have, back in the day, I would have been so into that. And I don't know. Carving initial. I've done some look, my wedding ring, he didn't have money. It's a tattoo. That's a form of, well, that's fucking torture if you want to look at it that way. I have his name instead of, so what's the difference? You carve a man's initials. I got his name on my fucking ring finger. So I don't feel that people fully understand the full picture of what that's about. But when Heather and I met him, it was the funniest day because we walked in. First of all, we went to the wrong house. She is hilarious. She got a new Porsche. And I go, listen, when I come to your house, be ready. Fucking Heather Locklear. Be ready. Because I know you. She's like, totally ready. I go there. I'm like, because I go, I'm waiting outside. I'm going to honk and meet you in your new Porsche. Because she's like, I want to take it on the freeway. Okay. So I get to the house, beep, beep, nothing. I go, oh, fuck. I walk in the door. There's Mr. Her dog. I go, I know what this means. Walk back. She literally is stepping out of the shower. I go, Heather Dean, I said, we have to leave now. It's 11 from Thousand Oaks. We have to be way down to the beach, way down. So she goes, she throws on her jean jumpsuit, get in the car, and she's doing, we got there faster than the Waze said. We go to the
Wait, what part of town is he?
He's like in a very dingy beach area. Okay. For a lot of the artists who don't make it, but some who do live in a swankier part of the beach, but a lot of dumpster diving. So I'm walking in heels and we're walking through this alley and people are dumpster diving. 2 people are fighting over there. Heather's walking. She's so oblivious to everything. They're like, are you Heather Locklear? She's like, hi, with her dog. And people are fighting. And she's like, oh, don't fight. So then we knock on this door. Man comes out. It's a little gated area. She's so fucking funny. He's got this tiny table. She's holding her dog and there's a dead plant with a green plastic watering can. And she's pretending to water his plant. And he walks out and he's like, Heather Locklear watering his plant. And he goes, I assume you guys are looking for Army? And I go, yeah. He goes, he lives back there. So we go, oh, cool. So we go back there, and back there's dumpsters, there's more shit, guys sleeping over in the corner. I go, oh my God, what a fucking lifestyle change. Because I had seen his old house with his ex-wife. I was like,
oh. And what happened? Did she get it all?
She must have, because we go through another tiny little alley and we walk up a staircase that our shoulders barely fit through. Creaky, old carpet. Don't want to know what's in it. Carpet. Top of the stairs, 2 doors. Lesbian couple here, Army here. If they were to both open their doors and not leave their apartments, they could probably have sex. It is this tiniest. I was like, oh, yeah, it is. Talk about being humbled. Right. But also canceled. Like, these women ruined a career. He's back, he's doing a couple things. And
I saw that. Yeah. But I mean, listen, he'll never get over that. I mean, when you say his name, people are like, oh, the guy who's accountable. I mean, for him to have to explain to every single person the reality of it is just, it's never going to happen,
You would be so good on his podcast. Are you going to be? I want to tell Jerry how great you would be, because I think I told Jerry I would love to come on, because I think he needs more women's perspectives. Heather and I were both on, and we also talk about Me Too. I go, I've never been Me Too. Have you? She's like, no. And same with Pamela Anderson. I worked on Pam's show VIP forever, and Pam's like,
well, wait a minute. When you say you've never been Me Too'd, I've been in plenty of situations where I knew what the deal was. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I've been on yachts in Monaco and France, and and I knew what was going on, but there was never a point where I was like, oh, I'm going to have to do this, otherwise I can't have a career, or otherwise I can't stay on the boat. And what I think why people like us are able to say that we've never been Me Too'd is I think we also had enough self-esteem to be like, I'm not going to do that, or I'm going to participate in whatever's going on because I don't care. And this is, I'm in it. I get the joke, so there's a lot of women who, yes, I feel like had some very difficult times, were in positions where they felt they had no choice. I don't personally understand that, because I've always felt I had a choice. And the choice might be, oh, I might be homeless. Oh, I might not be able to do something, but that choice was better choice than the alternative.
Pam said, I'm not fucking going to a hotel room at 2 a.m. to read a script. Heather was like, that's so fucked up. I've never fucked anybody's job. I'm gainfully employed because I've got a journalism degree and I worked my ass off to get to this country and got a green card on my own. I never married anyone for a green card. I got it on my own. And then I got my citizenship on my own. On the air, I did it. And, that's our point. Like, you're so right. If it's your choice, that's a whole different thing. Right. Yeah, I don't begrudge any woman if that's her choice, but don't. Yeah, there are men that put women in positions, and I believe there are women that get Me Too, but Army got called into that whole Me Too thing, and it wasn't about that.
No, and I totally agree. And also something that I've also felt where I can totally, sympathize or understand, Army. I wasn't an actor. I wasn't, someone like that, but I was someone whose name was in the press and did not comment, could not, because I had an NDA. His was because he had to totally disappear, probably because he didn't know how to handle it also. And he was losing everything. But for me, I couldn't speak about a story that was the biggest story in the world for months and still is talked about to this day. And it's a terrible feeling to be, someone who's all of a sudden thrust into a story, and the story's bigger than you and will always be bigger than you. And the stigma that goes with it, and the shame, and the scarlet letter. And for him, even though it wasn't, it wasn't all about adultery, he still will always wear that scarlet letter. And it's a terrible thing to feel misunderstood, which is why I finally found a platform that really resonated with me, to be reduced to a headline and to feel like your whole life is about being on a mission to change the narrative, but then finally realizing, wait a minute, I don't have to apologize to all these people. It's me that I have to put my head on the pillow at night and have these thoughts in my head. So I better really like myself, and I better forgive myself, and I better be able to laugh about this or move on in some way that's going to be constructive and take what I learned and like be okay with it. Otherwise, you'll just like die inside, you know?
Well, here's the great thing about you and Army in the same respect. He feels the exact same way, but you also have always known who you are. You're a smart, beautiful woman. So you've always been more than a headline. You know that. You own your narrative now. People can see. That's exactly how I felt about Army. I said, he's got some interview chops. I've seen.
He was great with you. He was great with you.
Yeah, and I watched him interview Dakota Fanning, or Dakota Johnson, and I was like, he actually listens. He's good. Same with you. So listening to your podcasts and hearing how smart and good you are with guests, and also seeing you on Homeworthy, I really loved it, because like when you were in the headlines, I remember saying, why are all these girls being chased? I don't get it. Like, what did they do? Why is it that, what are we doing about them? Like, do you remember you having a bigger story because of 9/11? But I remember, and also you being the most beautiful girl. I mean, that's just the way it was. You were the most photogenic. You were the most beautiful. People wanted.
Well, let's be honest. One was missing her teeth. Okay. The other one worked at Perkins and was not very attractive. The other one was an actual porn star that was telling stories about having anal. I mean, it was like.
Oh, but here's the thing. You had sort of this backstory, and you were beautiful. Sure. And so it was far more interesting to know about you. But the point being, he's the one who's doing like, what's up? And that's why, for you to own your narrative, for you to put yourself out there, like, to me, I didn't care back then. Like, I was like, this is bullshit. Like, why is she being persecuted and chased? What the fuck?
Right.
And so I'm always team woman when they are being victimized in a way. The Army women weren't. They were grown-ass women going to the desert with him who got dumped after a month. So he likes blondes on the back of motorbikes. So he likes to take them to Palm Springs. Then he dumps them, and then they're like, oh, I'll show you. So he's in sex. So to me, they didn't deserve my my backup. That's just the way.
No, I totally get that. Yeah. I mean, but by the way, I thought you were fabulous on the show. And I had so many questions for you about growing up, in a household, being adopted and finding your adoptive parents. But like, I heard it all on Army show. And actually, I'll tell people, instead of wasting time on mine, because we've already been talking an hour and a half, they should go listen to it on that, because you did such a great job explaining it. I was enthralled listening to the story. And you've had such an amazing life of these colorful things that have happened to you, good or bad, that have shaped you into who you are. So I think it's important to remember, like, for people that are going through similar things, it is okay to go through all that, because that's what makes you. And like, I have a tattoo down my back, and it says, without pain, happiness has no meaning. And I really believe you have to have those terrible experiences to understand how to have the good ones, because you won't be able to feel them.
I wear a cross around my neck that my birth mother tried to pin on my diaper. She was 17 when she had me. She carried it in her wallet. And when I found her at 34, I hired a detective and found her. She gave it to me. I've had it on ever since. I gave her this locket, and when she passed, I got it back again. It's a picture of me and my kids, but I have two full sisters. I'm with you about life and pain. And I was never angry at my parents for giving me up. They gave me the life that I have today. I had her 14 beautiful years. So much like you've been through it. And I think it makes us so much more well-rounded. I will want to tell you, if you do ever talk to Kelly Dodd, please tell her, I'm sorry for being sensitive, and I was overweight, and I am losing that weight. And I've always thought she was a really cool chick. And so
she is cool. And I'm going to make sure you guys have a conversation. I'm going to put you on a group text, actually.
I love Rick Leventhal. And I just, and it was told to me third party. So I probably.
Yeah. And that was the other thing I forgot to say at the beginning, because you had started with, well, it was from a third party. You can never believe anyone because everyone's always trying to get women to hate each other and fight. So hopefully you guys will squash this. After we're done, I'm putting you guys on a group text and I'm going to hope that you guys get along. But I want to just ask before we go a couple, because I could talk to you for 5 hours, a couple overarching questions that I want to have people as takeaways. Being someone who has gone through, first of all, at what stage are we at with your cancer? How are you feeling?
Well, I'm in I guess the 5-year I passed. I'm in remission. I think about Shannon Doherty a lot. I reached out to her. I never heard back from her because when it comes back, it will come back usually in your breast cancer anyway, your brain, your bones, or your liver. And she said it came back into her brain. I was like, and so I reached out to her. And then, she of course passed. She fought like an animal. I do know some of her friends. She fought so fucking hard. When I say my cancer is in God's hands, I never prayed for God I never ever had the audacity to say, cure my cancer. I always say, I'm in your hands, God. So I'm in remission and we'll see. Life is a journey. Every day is a journey. And I'm so grateful. Like, look, I get to be here to talk to you. You're an amazing woman. And I'm so happy that you have this format that you can put yourself out there. People get to know you. I loved your Homeworthy just because you're such a girl's girl. You've created a beautiful environment for your daughter, for you. I love Florida. It's one of the most beautiful states. Your home. Oh, I like everything you stand for. And here I am. I get to talk to you like we've been old friends, and I could talk forever.
I love that. Yeah. But I will say, I know you saw this like big nice life on Homeworthy. I think we may have talked about it when I was on the live with you. I'm really a recluse, and it's a after effect from what I went through, I think. But, I don't trust people. I get uncomfortable going out. So I've been dating somebody for 6 months now who I love. Amazing. I'll probably marry him, God willing. But he's good with my dogs and my daughter, and he is okay with my life. What?
That's just such a good sign. My animals hated my ex. They all scatter. Dog, they know. So, and of course your daughter is the most important.
Yeah.
But animals.
But the thing is the after effect of having so many people say so many things about you, it did take effect in my head. And so when we go out to dinner, I'm kind of, more quiet and demure than I really am because I don't like the attention. And all the girlfriends I have all want attention. They all want to be famous. They all want to go to the hot places and be seen. That gives me agita. It gives me anxiety because I don't like that because I already stand out because people think they know me and they really don't. And that's uncomfortable for me.
That's why I love Heather. That's why we're best friends. We sit in her room. We'll watch true crime all day.
I love that.
Never.
I love that. By the way, I love true crime. It's always the husband or the wife that did it. Why don't people know this?
Yeah. Why are we wasting so much time?
I know. It's 2 hours of an episode. We know who did it.
We know.
Wait, but so I want to go back to your cancer thing for 1 second and ask you as an overarching question, what do you think is misunderstood or what do you think people need to know that about being someone who is diagnosed with stage 3 cancer and surviving it?
Well, I'll tell you, my oncologist, I know I always say this to people, but it's so true. She said to me, having a good attitude is half the battle. And I was like, oh, then I've got this. That was on day 1 that I met her. My attitude was, and, I honestly think, Rachel, because I had that big IRS thing over me that that happened the same week. I was bald. I went in, that overrode cancer. I was like, oh, my kids, what am I going to do that cancer became like, okay, the chemo, drip, drip, drip. I'm going to watch Game of Thrones. Okay, what do I'm going to talk to this tax attorney and then that one. I think if you are going through cancer, know that it's like this. If you're an alcoholic, you are the doctor. You have the scalpel. You're going to pick up the drink or not. And if you're in hardcore stage of alcoholism, you know that you could possibly die if you pick up that drink. When you have cancer, you're not a doctor, you give it over to first God, you give it over to a surgeon. So there's not much else you can do other than have a good attitude. So, I think the best thing you can do is And the other thing I didn't do was fly out to New York for a second opinion. Like somebody's like, you should get a second opinion. Why the fuck am I going to waste time getting a second opinion? They said it's a textbook. I've never heard someone say you have cancer in a mammogram ever. That doesn't happen. They don't tell you have cancer during a mammogram. They tell you go get a biopsy. Then we'll tell you if you have cancer.
Right.
My doctor told me that day. I was like, that tells me all I need to know. So I'm a very aggressive person. I'm not the type to take one boob and then 3 years later, it spread to this one and now it's stage 4. I'm aggressive. So I always say to people, look, you do what you do you, whatever makes you comfortable. But if it does come, and look, I had a 9 and an 11-year-old at home. My responsibility, it wasn't just to me. I was a single mom. I had no child support whatsoever. I said, this is about them. So let's be as aggressive as we can. And I was never a vain person. I didn't care, and I was like, take them away. I don't even need implants. I don't care. And so my main mission was to stay alive. So I always say, it's up to God and the surgeons and what the plan is, and that's why to this day, I have never prayed once for God to take the cancer away. I always said I would never be so, the hubris of that to me. It's just sort of like, okay, God, I'm in your hands and I'll go where you deem necessary. He certainly let me stick around because my kids are 18 and my son will be 16. So I'm very lucky.
Right. Another concept we heard you talk about was about how Army had so much and now was like, had so little. And you've been through that as well. I've been through that as well. Can you talk about that concept? Because I think a lot of people assume that because you have a big name, you've been in TV for all these years, you've had a childhood career, you're a big actor, whatever these people have, it's like something happens and then they don't have that. I think a lot of people don't get that.
They don't.
Yeah. So explain how that works. Is there not a lot of, go ahead.
Plus Army comes from that family, Arm and Hammer. So you would assume, like Arm and Hammer, his grandfather is a multi-billionaire. But if you watch the series, the father got cut off and that whole thing happened. So it just, and then so he's an actor and things are going really quite well for him. I mean, he's this up and coming, incredible looking, very good actor. But everything gets pulled, he gets dropped by agencies. Nobody wants to work with him. His wife says, fuck you. I've got the kids. I've got the house. He lives in, when I say a hovel, I'm like, Army, you need help because this house needs some girly touches. And Heather and I got him a nice coffee table book and a crystal, and Heather got him, we got him the t-shirts that basically says, lay down, stay hard and shut the fuck up.
Oh, I heard that. That is so funny. So my God. That's great.
Such a sweetheart because he said, the depression that sinks in at first. And Heather has said to me, don't even compare because it's true. I love my place. It's very modern, but I love the French sort of look. And his is like, oh my gosh. Like you go there and you're looking around like.
You're like, do you want to come stay at my house for a couple
days?
I'm
like, I can polish chairs, but this is a challenge.
Right. But I mean, the concept of having it all and losing it, I think people don't understand when you're so famous, but also it's kind of like, well, yeah, but maybe you finally realized you don't need all that stuff. I mean, I was at a low at one point where I had stuff in storage and I couldn't even pay the storage. So they sold it all. And it was everything I owned. It was, I've never told anybody this. My dad's ashes were in there. It's terrible. And after that, I was so devastated because then obviously when I made some money, I was like, oh, I wish I could have paid it, or, I wish I had all that stuff now. And even though it kind of brings me to tears thinking all that, but at the same time, it's like, now I really know what's important. It's changed my perspective. And of course you love having nice things, right? But when you really realize what the things that are material don't actually mean anything, then your whole life kind of changes. Your perspective.
He was brought to that. He talked about that. And he said, and he's just got such a good attitude about it. He's like, yeah, I could use your help. Sure. Yeah. I could paint this. I could paint that. But I think what happens is I felt like such a cleansing of my soul. And so I literally was like, I need now the next step after losing the weight. I have to meditate. Now I have to get right. I've been right with God for quite some time, but I have to get right with myself. And that just means being more in tune, because I'm so separated from myself. And I think that's a long story, but that's from, being molested as a kid. You kind of separate sex and your body, and you separate.
Yeah, you disassociate a lot. Yeah.
Disassociate. So I've very much done that. And it probably helped me get through a lot in life. But now it's time to more connect, because Army brought that up to me and about not having sex. He's like, do you think that the trauma, it's called the body trauma effect or something? And I will read that eventually, but I want to I just started meditating, this meditation app. And I used to think all that stuff was hokey pokey, but I believe that what, like you said, the stuff. Okay. So I sold everything, and lost my home that I had worked 23 years on. It was just a little shoebox when I bought it in the Valley. And then over the years, I put a pool in, I did the landscaping, I changed this to marble, I did the hardwood, I put my dream kitchen in, and then I lost the house. Like literally, I never got to eat in it. I mean, and so, but it's okay. Like I said to the kids, okay, here's the dream kitchen mommy always wanted. And I was like, okay, we can't eat in it. And that kind of broke me. I was on Facebook one night and I saw, and it was when I was very broken. And I saw these people, beautiful people in their 30s, 40s, and they're all sexy and dancing, and the pool was lit up, and there was a long table under the loggia. And I was like, I remember days like that. And I was like, wait a minute, that looks familiar. And it was my home.
No way.
Bought it. Yeah. The girl who bought it bought all my furniture. She loved the way I decorated it. Jeff Lewis had put in these amazing bookshelves in a corner I never quite knew what to do with. So he had built an amazing bookshelf, and I painted them Pharaoh and Ball off black. And I had all my Emmys and all my books up there. Though she didn't keep my Emmys, obviously, but she kept a lot of the Jonathan Adler stuff I had, my black marble coffee tables, the round sofa I had around, and they're all dancing, da-da-da. And the loggia, she put the long table in with the candlelight, and she must have gone on Manjaro because she was super skinny. And I was like, look at all these hot bitches. Man, they look so good. I was like, that's my old home. And I immediately started bawling because it was the home I had built for 23 years and finally had got it to where I wanted it. And there was the kitchen with all the beautiful, the crudités laid out and the gorgeous cheese boards. And I was like, that's my life. Once I stopped thinking like that, that's not your life. It's not what you're supposed to be. You had that home for 23 years. It was great while it lasted. You brought your kids up there for the most part, and you're here. And be thankful that you are living. So you kind of have to kick yourself out of that. It's just stuff. It's just things. Go buy a marble tray. I mean, it's okay.
Right.
It's just a different kind of life. And it's a better kind of life for me. So it's taken me a while to get here. It didn't happen overnight. Like I'm sure for you, it took a little bit of time to grow that sort of spiritual peace.
Decades. Yeah, for sure. I think people will probably be wondering, first of all, you have so many contacts, absolutely everybody in Hollywood and beyond. What is it that you want to do next? Do you have any plans to do something next? Do you want to be back on TV? Like what does your future look like to you?
Well,
besides going to Paris when your children leave.
Yes. TV's too PC for me. Heather and I are starting a podcast. Army Hammer has a company and he offered us a podcast. So we start that. I'm going to Canada to visit my parents. My mom has dementia. They're still around. My dad's 86. They're both 86. And to visit my friends that I grew up with in Canada from grade school. So
what's your podcast going to be about? Just girl talk.
Exactly. We'll also do a lot of true crime because I know.
Oh, yes. If you could break down all that kind of true crime.
Yeah.
Do you follow stories like Lori Vallow? Do you know her story?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Like, I think you guys would be amazing. It would be like off kilter, the fact that you don't need to talk about gossip or the old days, although you could talk about all day long and who you know. But if you guys, talked about all the crimes that are out there and your opinions on it, it'd be
going to do that. It'll be one of the things that we do. And I think that it'll be about our lives because she's had 50,000 lives. I've had many lives. And I don't want it to be reliant on guests because I mean, I think our friendship is a very interesting friendship in many, many, many ways that people be very surprised about. I think they'd be surprised to know there's a lot of conservatives that live out here in Hollywood. I think her dad was a Marine, and God rest his soul. Thank you, Bill Locklear, for your service. He just passed at 95. Wow. And so I think there's so much for her and I to talk about. True crime is definitely one of the things we bond over. We know we not only do we know every case, but I know a lot of people that are involved in true crime that are people that have lost loved ones. I also know people on the side of the murderers. So it's I'm an advocate for victims. As I said, I've spoken on behalf of the LaBianca family I've met the Manson murderers. I've gone to their parole hearings. I've sat 3 feet away from them. I've listened to them talk for 7 hours.
Wow.
And then you get 3 minutes as a family member to speak. So
wow.
Just is really,
you know who I'd love to have on the show? So I am guest driven, which at the beginning I was like, the people that were trying to help me start this were like, that's a terrible idea. But I'm not great. Like you go on live every day or whatever it is, and you're able to just talk and talk. I'm not confident enough like that. I love getting guests. And now I film like 3 times a week. So I have like 2 months in advance, like in the can already, because it's great. I'm able to watch a documentary or, think of like a Lorena Bobbitt and be like, whatever happened to her? And because of my name, I had her on the show. You have to listen to that episode.
Oh,
it's amazing.
Fantastic.
Or I had like Greg Louganis, like when you're younger and you hear about all these things and you're like, whatever happened to them? Yeah. So I love that I'm guest driven, but I'm not good like you in be able to do that.
You're a very good interviewer, and you also the curiosity. I love knowing where they are now. Because I was there when I was in the news when she did that to John Wayne. I know I think that's really interesting.
Sorry to interrupt you. What I was going to say is someone I'd love to have on my show is one of those either journalists or people who's always allowed in when people are executed.
Oh,
I want to hear what that's like. Like what the hell goes on in reality? And are you like freaking out? And are you waiting for someone to jump up and be like, no, it's not going to happen. He gets another stay of execution. Like I just want to hear all about it. So
it's crazy you mentioned that. I was at lunch with Deborah Tate one day and I invited my former publicist, John, we call him John, but so by chance we're having lunch and I go, oh my God, Deb, John's grandmother. I go, oh, John, do you mind if I tell her? No, she was murdered in Northern California. And she goes, I'm so sorry. What happened? Mm-hmm. Fucker either escapes or they let him out of prison. I think he escaped. And he went into the nursing home where she lived and he raped her and stabbed her with a screwdriver.
No way.
Well, guess what? John was little when it happened. He went to the execution. Now, the Manson family, they were given the death penalty, but it was overturned. So they all got life in prison. Please, Leslie Van Houten's out.
I'm always curious if they think that that's a better sentence than death. Life in prison sounds terrible. I think I'd rather have death.
I went to visit. I saw where they lived. It's nicer than the college dorm that I had.
No way.
Yeah, the woman's prison that I went to where they were at the time, Patricia Krenwinkel was there. And I believe Leslie was there at the time. Susan Adkins had already passed. I just don't have a lot of sympathy for them. I mean, she lived very well. She had a women's group. Women's prison is very different than men's prison.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Some of it. Now, Pearl Fernandez, I don't know if you remember the Gabriel Fernandez story.
Of course, where they kept her kept him in the closet or the
yes.
whatever that was. Yeah.
Yes.
Terrible.
A gang of, if you're a child, as you know, if you kill children they will come after you. Pearl was attacked by women. They got a tuna can and they had undone the top. So they came out her face and fucking went to town.
Is she still alive?
Yep. She's got a very fucked up face now. Oh, well.
Well, it's hard to have some empathy for her because she sucked.
I have zero. Yeah. I'm like, oh, well, God bless those women. There are certain people in prison with the hierarchy. I'm like, thank God for prison justice, because there ain't no justice out here. Sorry.
Right. Well, I have a show. I mean, we are totally off topic, but we'll end this in 1 second. But I will tell you and Heather should watch something. I think it's on Netflix called Blackbird. Is that right? I just saw it the other day. Really good true crime thing based on a real life case.
I think I see everything. So give me a little.
It's about a guy who has to go to prison. I forget why, but like nothing terrible. And he got 10 years and he didn't think he was going to get 10 years. Anyways, when he's in prison, they say to him, listen, we'll let you out if you go to the maximum security prison and try to get this crazy guy to admit where these bodies are. So he has to agree. He agreed to do that because he wants to get out. And then he's in this crazy prison with the worst of the worst. And he has to befriend this murderer who says he's not a murderer and try to get him to admit where 20 bodies are. It's really good. And it's based on a true story.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Watch that.
You and Heather will love that.
I've got one for you. It's called Into the Fire, about the woman looking for her daughter that she put up for adoption. The twists and turns in this. And it's a documentary. And
love that.
Heather and I, our fucking jaw was on the floor. We were like, what? It's just 3 episodes. It gives me chills.
Oh, I'm going to watch it. Okay.
It is unbelievable. Anyway, we'll get back on track. I could talk to you all day. Go ahead.
Okay. No, that's it. I mean, I feel like I should let you go because we've now been here almost 2 hours, but we'll have to do it again and talk about I had literally 3 pages of things to ask you and I didn't get to any of them because we just basically had a conversation, but we'll do it again. And maybe we'll have a podcast where you like co-host with me. We just go through all the true crimes, or we'll just go through all the gossip. It would be fun.
I would love that
and you know who I could bring on at the same time? Who do I have that's our mutual friend that I always have? AJ Benza.
Oh, AJ. Please send him my love. Oh my
God. Will. That would be really fun. He has the funniest stories and he has the funniest attitude. I'm always peeing my pants the way he says them.
I'm like, how are you not a mobster? He's like, well, I know Gotti. I know you know him, but how are you not fucking a Gotti? Anyway. Right. I adore you. And
and wait, last question. If they ever asked you to be on reality TV, would you do it?
No, I don't think so. Would you do it? Because you'd be perfect.
I would do it only because I'm not, listen, my life is still, focused on how am I going to support my 12-year-old daughter? I mean, I get basically no money for child support, like literally not enough to pay for the groceries. So I'm a hustler by nature. Yeah. And so if I got a reality show in some way, it makes the podcast better. It has more eyeballs on me. You get offered deals to sell things. I'm writing a book also. It'll help me with my book deal, all sorts of things. And I'm always being pitched reality shows. I mean, listen, somebody called me last night and pitched a whole idea to me. They very rarely go through. They all sound like great ideas.
You should be pitched something that you should be offered something, not pitched, because when you're pitched, it's like a whole dog and pony show. You should be like a Real Housewife, because I know they're edited certain ways, and people get like every year. Kyle used to say, "I'm out," because of the way they edit it. It's like really down to the editors. That's why they want writing credit, because it's brilliant how they can do it. But I just don't want. I guess I'm not confident enough yet to be back there. I'm still trying to self-heal. And
yes, I get it. You have to be done with that journey to be able to focus on being another person, or in your second act, so to speak. Exactly. I mean, I feel like you've had a lot of acts, but you got to get through one to start another.
And I need to have the narrative of my second act, because I've had the narrative of my first, but I think, and I don't have any financial stability. I have, I don't get child support. In fact, I'm paying my ex for my son right now. He's 15. So yeah. Anyway.
So you're open to deals if anyone's listening.
Yeah.
And maybe someone will ask you to do like a perimenopause medication. I would love if somebody came to me and asked me to do that.
Yeah, no kidding. You know what's funny? I thought you were 40.
Oh, no, I'm 50. But
For
thank
people,
you.
I was saying to Rachel just before we came on, I was having a hot flash and I go, oh, Rachel, wait till you get here. Wait till you get here. And she's like, what are you talking about? I am there. And I was like,
yeah, I am there. It's terrible. Yeah.
I thought 40. Anyway, I adore you. And
I know we have to stay in touch more. I'm going to connect you to, I'm going to have a conversation with Kelly. I'm going to connect you. Maybe you'll connect me to Army or tell them that I should be on their show. I'll fly out there. That would be fun. And then I'll come hang out on your couch and we'll watch the ID Network one night with Heather.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Definitely. Heather doesn't do any, people always say, would she come on as a guest? I'm like, she doesn't really do any appearances, but she did one for Melrose Place with the girls who were on Melrose Place. But
no, I'd rather just sit with you guys and watch true crime.
You have to come on Army's podcast and he should come on yours.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to talk to Jerry today. So
yeah,
I hope
he is one of the most misunderstood people. It would be my honor to have him on, but I'd love to go on his because I'd love to. He has a great podcast where he can still have that conversation and I could still ask him questions like you did. I heard you ask him plenty and he's so open. And I just feel like it's such a great conversation.
I feel the two of you would be so great together. So I'm going to tell Jerry that today. I think you would be so fantastic on his show and he on yours. So I will.
And I'm going to be in LA soon. So I'm definitely going to give you a holler.
Please tell me when. And you don't have to connect Kelly. Just say to Kelly, Jillian just says she is sorry it got to that level. And I do adore her. So just tell her that. Okay.
100% will let her know.
You're the best.
Reach out. I love you. Thank you so much for listening to Misunderstood. I'm your host, Rachel Uchitel. Please be sure to subscribe to the show and give us a 5-star rating and review. You can support the show by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/misunderstood with Rachel Uchitel. Do you have ideas for the show or want to reach out? Email us at info misunderstoodpodcast@gmail.com. That's spelled MISS understood. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.